And if you have any kind of question during the session, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll take a look on them at the end, or later on today or next days. If you would like to have a talk or discuss more about specific topics, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn or on Twitter, and let's have a chat. Who I am? My name is Radu Vunvulea. I'm based in Romania. I don't know if you know where is Romania on the map, but basically I think that you heard about Transylvania. I'm living in a city in the middle of Transylvania called Cluj-Napoca. And today we'll talk about developer tools for Microsoft Azure. I'm Microsoft Azure MVP and Microsoft Regional Director. And what I think that it's relevant for this session is that my first production Azure system went live in 2010. And starting from then, I was involved in a lot of cloud projects, especially Azure, and from time to time on AWS. Tools are very important, and this is a quote that I really like and I really enjoy from Thomas Carly, that say, "Man is a tool. Using animal without tools, he is nothing. With tools, he is all." And in the end, tools are very important because tools give us the ability not only to increase our product, not only give us the possibility to increase our productivity, but also give us the ability to do more, to focus more on the business, to focus more on the code that we are writing, to focus more on our things that we are interested in, and to give sometimes to other software systems or to other subsystems the ability to manage and to deal with other areas that could be automated or can be externalized. So let's talk about tools. And I tried to prepare a different session. I'm not focusing too much on the tools that we are using day by day or all of us we are aware of. I will try to focus more on some tools, on some scripts that I know that we might not be aware of all of time, or we don't think that this kind of tools exist and are available. One more thing about me before going forward is that I'm a coffee lover. I really like drinking coffee. I really like making coffee. So this is why I think that tools are important. And what is the connection with the coffee is because sometimes I prefer to have tools to make coffee, and I have 8 or 10 different small devices for coffee, and I would like to share with you around 18-20 developer tools that can be used together with Azure when you're working and when you're build application for Azure. What I'm focusing on and what kind of tools I try to identify are free tools. Basically, tools that you can use without paying any kind of license and are very easy to access and to play around. The tools that we will talk today are covering 5 main areas: storage and migration, price calculators, latency and API, emulators, because sometimes we are forgetting about them and we are forgetting how important they are, and tour-free script, depending on how much time we'll have in the end, that we can use to make our life much easier, especially when we work on large teams, and cost is very important. So let's start with storage and migration tools. One of my favorite tools is metrics for Azure storage. You'll be able to find it very easily on Microsoft Store. You can you can you can download it, you can install it without any kind of problem. It is a tool that is providing you access directly from your development machine to basic metrics that are provided by Azure Storage, like what is the total number of requests, what is the total number of errors that appear, and so on. And why this is important? Maybe you're running a load test. Maybe you're writing code, a fresh code, and you are doing some tests, and you want to see exactly what is the current status of the storage, if any kind of error appears, or what is the current latency of your request, and so on. How you would do that normally would be maybe you put on the left or on the right side of your screen or on another screen the portal from where you are looking on the metrics or to different charts and so on. This is a tool that is providing you a native app that you can run locally without any kind of problem, and to be able to take a look on these basic metrics. It's very, very simple, easy to use, and I would say that during the life cycle of developing an application that is using Azure Storage, when you want to do some tests, it's very, very useful. Of course, when you need more insight, when you want to know exactly what happened, what kind, or what is the current capacity, and so on, don't forget that, except that classical metrics that we are used to. Also, we have the insights for Azure Storage, and I think that these kind of insights are very important to understand exactly what is the impact of our code to the storage, to the price, to how the latency is impacted, and so on. And it's very important, especially when we build a system that is consuming cloud resources, Azure resources, is to know and to understand what is the impact of our code. And I just want to give you a very simple example. In 2010, I was working on the first project that was running on top of Azure Storage. On that times, we were using web roles and worker roles. Simplify web apps, let's say in this way, and the communication between these components was done using Azure queues that are basically part of a storage account. The monthly cost of the production environment used to be around 1,100 euros, and we tried to optimize a little bit the application, even if from the business point of view things were very smooth and were pretty okay. And we try to reduce how often we are checking if we have new messages in the queue, and we reduce from half a second to around 50 milliseconds. We didn't realize from the development point of view what would be the impact on the end-to-end system. Well, yes, we were receiving much faster any kind of messages that were arriving in the queue. But after first month, we identified that the bill at the end of the month, the Azure bill, went with around 400 or 500 euros higher. Why this happened? Because basically when you're using Azure Storage or blob tables, queues, and so on, also you are paying for transaction. And when the queue is empty, we were doing from each of 12 worker roles that we had behind the scene, we were doing a lot of transactions, a lot of calls to the queues, and we had to pay for each call. So this is why it's very important to understand what is the impact on the code that we are writing to the cloud service that we are using. The third tool that I would like to share with you, it is written by Monza Cloud. It is Azure Cloud Explorer. It's not very easy nowadays to find it anymore. I've seen that they retired it, but still on different locations you can still find the package for it. Why I really love it and why I wanted to share with you this tool, because it is a perfect tool that you can use when you have a non-technical person that needs to use a storage account. That person can be somebody from a different department, can be the customer that might need to upload some files, some content, or he might need to download. And Azure Explorer was giving you the ability to have an experience from your desktop as you would have when you are using File Explorer. So you would have on the right side the navigation. You would very easily attach one or multiple storage accounts. As you can see here, you would have the Control C, Control P, copy paste, and different icons, and in the end, the same experience that you have with File Explorer. It was a great tool, especially in my case when I had customers that had to upload specific files to their own system without any other tools or without redirecting them to, for example, to Azure Storage Explorer or more. I wouldn't say more complicated tools, but not so close to the one that they are using day by day, or without building a specific portal for their own use. AZ copy. Many times, and I'm more than sure that most of you already used AZ copy. So it's a command line application. It's a command line tool that gives you the ability to interact with a storage account. If you want to upload or to download to Azure files or to block storage different content, AZ copy gives you the ability to do this behind the scene. What I really like it is that it can run in background. So it means that you can kick the AZ copy, for example, to move 100 or 500 gigabytes of data, and you would receive from time to time what is the current status, and also you have the ability to specify exactly what is the behavior if any kind of error appear, or if you identify content with the same when during a copy you identify the same content already exists on the destination, and also you have the ability to use patterns or prefix and wildcards, basically to decide exactly that only file with a specific extension or a specific name pattern would be copied and so on. A very interesting part here is that AZ copy can be used also if you want to synchronize, for example, an S3 with an Azure Blob Storage, or if you have a local repository. Also, I find it very useful when I had to synchronize our storages from China North of one of our customers to other storages that were in Japan in West Europe. And why? That is pretty important. If you have different storages in different Azure regions, on the public ones, the synchronization can be done very easily. When you talk about regions like China North, things are a little bit different because you don't have the same experience, you don't have the same tools as you would have on the public regions. And in these kind of situations, you need to do this kind of synchronization manually, because China North region, you can see it as a full isolated region where the synchronization mechanism that you're using day by day would not work there. So a tool that can be used with success is AZ copy. And basically we were configuring AZ copy to move data from West Europe and from Japan West to China North. Also, we analyze exactly what is the performance, because we wanted to know, okay, how long it takes, if there is any kind of errors or file that cannot be moved, and so on. The tests were done on 1 terabyte of data. We moved them with a rate of 100% success, and most of the files were very, very small, around 30, 50, 100, up to 150 kilobytes. As you can see from West Europe, it took 15 hours to move 1 terabyte of data to China North. From Japan, it took only 8 hours. Why? Especially when you move small files, the latency and the physical distance between the location is very, very important. For large files, this is not such a big problem, but when you have small files, this might be an impact. So keep in mind, AZ copy is allowing you to synchronize also public to non-public Azure regions around the globe. Now, let's go forward. Let's talk a little bit about Azure Cosmos DB. And what I would like to talk about is Azure Cosmos DB data migration tool. Because, yeah, I'm seeing more and more customers that are moving to a NoSQL approach, like, for example, Azure Cosmos DB, but also because there is already a high number of people that are using NoSQL, like for example MongoDB or DynamoDB. There's a high need and the ability to be able to do such kind of migration. Remember that Microsoft is offering already out of the shelf Azure Cosmos DB data migration tool, and you have pretty good experience. It's very, very similar that you would have with, for example, with SQL and with the SQL migration tool that is allowing you to migrate from SQL Server to move the data to Azure SQL, and would automatically identify what is the compatibility level and what are the things that you need to change. Also, for some specific cases, as you can see, AZ copy can be used to migrate to Cosmos DB. Now, Azure Storage Explorer, I think that is one of the most used tools when you're talking about storage account. It's a free tool that nowadays is provided and supported by Microsoft. What I want here to mention and to keep in mind is not about how to use it, because it's very, very simple, is that if you go to the settings under edit, you will find a section transfer, where behind the scene nowadays, AZ copy is used out of the shelf. So you have the ability to specify when you are doing transfers of content from your local machine to storage, from Azure storage back to your machine, or between different Azure storages, what is the behavior that you would like the AZ copy to have. If you move small amounts of data, don't do any kind of changes. But if you want to do some optimization, especially when you're moving large amount of data, then take a look on AZ copy, because you have the ability to limit, for example, the file concurrency, the buffer size. What is the behavior if you want to do an MD5 check or not? What is the behavior of any kind of problems if you want to do the completion or not, and so on. So there are a lot of small configurations and small tricks that you can do if you want to optimize a little bit what is the behavior of AZ copy. Now, one important thing is about, don't forget that when you want to share access to somebody else and you're using Azure storage account, use also shared signature, and don't share your storage account key and your account name. Now, I don't know how many of you know exactly how Azure Storage source key is generated, but I want to emphasize a very important thing. Let's go on one of the storage accounts that I have, and let's just generate a shared access signature. And why? Because it's important to remember that we have the ability not only to specify exactly what is the start date and end date, or if we already have defined a policy, but also what are the permission, what is the key that we are using. Also, you have the ability, for example, to specify what are the IPs, basically a white list of IPs. And once the shared access signature is generated, there are two components of this token, of the signature, that you need to be aware of. The first part is containing in clear text what are the operations, the start date, the end date, and so on. Basically, all the configuration that you are doing is available here. And in the end of the shared access signature, you will find a token, basically the signature that was used to sign that configuration that is directly connected to account key. Why this is important, and why I think that is important to keep this in mind, is that at the moment in time when you're generating a shared access signature, you don't need connectivity to internet or to the storage account, to Azure storage account. The only thing that you need is to know what is the account name, what is the container or the blob that you're generating, for which you're generating the shared access signature, and key one or key two of the account, and nothing more than that. Because shared access signature is generating this signature, basically this token, based on the key, and will be valid as long as you specify in the shared access signature configuration, or until when the key of the storage account is renewed. Azure Service Bus, especially nowadays with microservices and with systems that are running across multiple services and so on, communication over messages and events is very, very common. We are forgetting about the tools that give us the possibility to take a look on the queues, to take a look on the subscription, to see what kind of configuration we have, and so on. A tool that works very well, even if I think that has around 7 or 8 years old already, is Service Bus Explorer. Service Bus Explorer give us the ability to see and modify all the configurations that are done at our queue or our topic or subscription level. We can modify them without any kind of problem. We can also have some configurations that usually are available only from command line and not from the portal. For example, if you want to define a filtering rule for a subscription, you can do it. You can do it from here very easily. Another thing that I really like is the ability that you can receive messages and you can consume messages from directly from the tool itself. And also, you have the ability to purge your messages from your subscription, from your topic, from your queue, or from the data, or from the letter. When you are doing different tests, when you are testing your code, and things like that, this feature might be very, very useful to understand exactly what's happening behind the scene and what you could do to improve it. Also, this one combined with the ability to do a pick and to take a look on the delegated queue or on your subscriptions, it's pretty awesome. Also, you have integration with event hubs, notification hubs, and Relay. This tool is available on GitHub. If I'm not wrong, it's very easily to install. You can run it even without any kind of installation, and it works well. So if you're using Azure Service Bus or Event Hub or Notification Hubs, give it a try. This is a great tool, and I would say this is one of the most not known tool for people that are working with Azure Service Bus. What else? Let's talk about calculators. All of us, we know about Azure price calculator. Remember some small tips and tricks on the price calculator. Remember that you can export, you can save. So if you log in with your own account or with your Outlook or Office 365 account, you can very easily you can save your cost estimation. You can share them, and if you are part of an AI agreement, then you can also apply the costs that are provided through the AI agreement to see exactly what are the real costs for your own organization. Except the price calculator, we also have another one. We have the one for COSMOSDB, a capacity calculator that based on what we want to run, based on the number of operation, based on the number of level of replication of Cosmos DB across multiple regions, and so on, it can provide us what is the estimated cost at the end of the month for Azure Cosmos DB. And that's pretty awesome because otherwise it's not very easily to do the estimation to take all the things into account. So if you're working with the Cosmos DB, take a look on the capacity calculator for Cosmos DB because it might provide you some very good insight related to the running costs for different environments, dev, test, prod, and so on. And one more thing that you shouldn't forget about, it is the reserve capacity that is not only available for Azure VMs and for computation, but also for SQL, for Cosmos DB, and similar services. Now, let's go forward. Let's talk about latency. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm in the situation when I need to decide where the customer should deploy key systems or what are the regions that he should use. So it's not about all the time about compliance. Sometimes it's about as close as possible to customers and so on and so on. Yes, we have the CDNs, we have the edge computation, but also you need the full backend system deployed. How you take this into account? How you decide exactly where you would like to deploy, taking into account the customer location? We'll talk about two different tools that I would like to share with you. Azure Speed Test 2.0, and this with you and let's reload it. What Azure Speed Test 2.2 is doing for us basically is measuring the latency between my browser or your browser and the blob storage service from different Azure regions. And that's pretty awesome. And you can see exactly, for example, I'm based in Cluj-Napoca, Romania. At this moment in time, the lower latency, it is for West Europe and Germany, UK, France. And if we take a look, for example, the highest latency, as you expect, is from the APAC. It is from APAC region like Australia, Korea, Japan, East Asia. And also, it's pretty interesting that Norway West has a pretty high latency in this case, and this is pretty interesting. But basically, you can make an idea about what is the current latency from where you are located to different location. And you might say, okay, 50 or 100 milliseconds is not too much. But for example, if you take a look to Australia, there's a 300 millisecond latency. If you have a lot of small files that you need to move, or you have customers from Australia that would need to access some resources that are here or other way around, this might be pretty important. The second tool that I would like to share with you is Azure Latency. It is, let's say, Azure Test 2.2 with steroids, because it's much powerful. So you can measure latency, and you can decide exactly what are the Azure regions that you want to measure, and you want to see exactly how long it takes to do to move or to access them. So let's put Canada, let's keep Brazil, let's say that's we are keeping Japanese, Central US, and from Europe, let's take North Europe. So as you can see now, in real time is monitoring what is the average average latency, and you can make an idea about what happened. And also you have all the time what is the average latency, the physical location, and so on. Except this Azure speed also gives you the ability to test the download speed or your upload speed, and you are doing basically a direct test to the to Azure region that you want to play with. Also for upload, you have small file or for large files. Also, if you want to take a look on the CDNs. And one more thing that I would like, and I really like about Azure Speed Test is especially Azure regions, where you can take a look what is the current status. The same information is also available on Microsoft's website, and the Azure IP ranges. And why this is important? Microsoft is providing this as in an I think JSON or XML format. I don't remember exactly in what format, but sometimes you want just to take a look very, very fast, or to, okay, I need all the IPs from a specific region just to put them in a while list for a small test, something like that. And from here, you can just do a copy paste and put them in your firewall configuration or in another locations where you would need it. Also, for Azure clouds that are not under Microsoft control, you'll find directly the URL from where you can find more information. And there was one more tab, but it seems that I not have the luck to find it, where also they are providing what is the URL to access the one that are not over here Azure environment. No, not this one. Oh, this one, yes. That are not under Microsoft control. For example, Azure US government, German cloud, and China cloud, and direct URL that can be used. Because it is not the same URL, it's not the same portal. For example, the one that you're using for Azure regions that are publicly available, and the one for US government, for German cloud, and China cloud, and so on. Okay, let's go forward. This is a pretty old tool, the API discovery, but I usually am using this tool to show to the people that all the services that are provided by Microsoft through Azure are available as an API. So directly from your browser, you can make direct calls and you can make get, post, and delete to see exactly what is the response and so on. So let's talk a little bit about emulators. All of us, we know that we have the storage emulators, the one for functions. That I'm pretty impressed how easily you have an emulator in a command line, and you can emulate the same behavior that you would have on Azure Functions on your own machine. There are also some additional emulators that I would like to mention. Another one is COSMOSDB. It's a little bit limited, but from the development point of view, as a developer, you can have almost the same experience as long as you don't have too complex configuration queries or too many containers, CosmosDB containers, and you can test your CRUD operation without any kind of issues. So if you are working with CosmosDB, give it a try, because in this way you wouldn't need development instance of CosmosDB inside Azure to be able to test simple and basic CRUD operations. And also for unit tests, this might be very, very useful. Now, in the end, I would like to share with you some scripts that I really like to use in different contexts. This is the NUKE all resource, And it's very useful, especially during the end of the day or during end of the week, when you want to ensure that your subscriptions and your resource group will remain clean without any additional things inside them. And basically, this would delete everything that is not locked and protected, especially for development and playground environment. This kind of tools in one way or another should exist and should be configured, because in the end, all of us, we are humans, and we might forget to delete a resource that might generate additional cost very easily. Another one is stop all VMs. Yes, Azure VMs has ability to specify a shutdown time, but not all the time is configured, or maybe people are forgetting to do this. Stop all VMs basically is doing this for you. Once you're running the script, automatically all VMs are stopped. So you, for example, for specific environments or configuration, you might have this kind of script that would run automatically at a specific time in the afternoon or during the night. The same thing for the same thing in the first hour in the morning. You might want to start the VMs at a specific time and so on. If you don't have the ability to do this configuration for specific VMs through the functionality that the Azure VM is providing, you can also you can do this from scripts very easily. Now, from the development point of view, you might not need something like this all the time, but I wanted to make you aware of that you have the ability at the virtual network layer or at a specific subnet or for specific type of traffic, you can automatically capture all the packages that are going through that virtual network. And it might be useful if you want to trace exactly what is happening behind the scene from the cybersecurity point of view. If you think that you might have some security issue or something it's not quite well on a specific computation resource, or somebody's access you some specific things that are in a virtual network, this kind of package captures are very useful. And we need to be aware that they can exist and they can be configured without using a third-party tools or buying expensive systems that would allow you to do something like that. Now, to sum up, what I would like to take from this presentation, first of all, is the Azure Service Bus Explorer. And if you're using message or event-based communication, give it a try because it's very useful. Azure latency tools. It can give you some very good insight related to what is the latency, what is the current status. Don't forget about AZ copy, and even if we have the out-of-the-shelf tools that can be used easily, AZ copy is sometimes used behind the scene, and we need to know about it, and we need to know exactly how to configure it to work as expected. Thank you. Thank you one more time for the sponsors that made this event possible. And please don't forget to submit the feedback. And if you have any kind of questions, this is the perfect moment in time when we have 2 minutes or free to talk now, or later on over Twitter or LinkedIn. Just drop me a line. Thank you.
There's always that awkward pause while we're waiting for questions. What I'll do, we're going to have a 60-minute break now for people to have lunch or afternoon tea, depending on which end of the coast you're at. But I'll put up the slide for that break. But please, keep the questions coming to Radu. And just if I forget to say it later, Radu, thank you very much for spending the time to educate us today.
Thank you for inviting me, and I will make the slides available later on. And if you have any kind of problem accessing this kind of the tool that I presented, just let me know, and I can give you a hand.
Okay, great. And it looks like we do have a question from Christian there in the chat.
Okay, I will read the question. Radu, could you please compare or present some use cases for AZ copy and Azure Data Share? I think that you are especially referring when we should use AZ copy and when we should use Azure Data Share. So first of all, these two are intended for different type of sharing, especially, for example, in the case of AZ copy, you're doing this especially when you're sharing Azure blob storage or Azure files. For Azure Data Share, you are using it, for example, when you're using or you want to share Azure Data Lake resources, SQL Data Warehouse, or you have, for example, data sets that are stored in, or you want to share them with Azure Synapse Analytics and so on. Azure Data Share also is used when you want to share the data in a more organized way to specific entities that are part of your organization or outside your or organization. But for example, if you're doing only one-time copy of full content during, for example, a deployment, and you need to move 100 gigabytes of data from on-prem to for your deployment environment, or you need to prepare an Azure storage before releasing these kind of things, then AZ copy might be a better option. Also, the last thing that I would like to mention about Azure Data Share is that it gives you the ability to not only to create a more secure environment, but also to be able to trace exactly who access what, when, and so on. You don't have this kind of ability if you are using AZ copy. Maybe we could say that AZ copy for jigs and for technical people and teams that are behind the scene to do their small tweaks. And Azure Data Share is more when you want to share content in a more commercial way, especially outside the organization with third parties. Thank you very much one more time. Enjoy your lunch and enjoy the conference. Bye bye.
Thanks, Radu. I know it's late for you there, so thanks again.